It's in the back. The shot is Slinger saves it! Touch from Zardes. Nagby hits it up to himself. It's an absolute calamity at the back.
So drain my bank account. I don't give a shit anymore, okay?
Everybody, welcome to week 2 of the MLS Recap. And this week has been even better than the last, and I can't even believe those words are coming out of my mouth. Before we get into each and every match, I just want to remind you guys to please hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Also, our new show, MLS Cafe, is officially out and airs every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. You'll be there with us drinking some coffee with some of your favorite athletes in the game. Highly recommended. Now with that out of the way, let's get into these games.
Sporting Kansas City versus Orlando City.
The first game of week 2 ended in a 1-1 scoreline. Gianluca Busio scored first of the evening right before halftime, showing that he's just as effective playing as a 10 as he is a 6. Expect Busio to be transferred to a big club at the end of the season. Orlando equalized with a cheeky back heel by man of the match Nani in the second, and Orlando as a whole played a fantastic game on opposing soil. Yes, Adam Pulido and Johnny Russell didn't start the game, but I still expected more from SKC. Their wing-back combo of Jalen Lindsey and Lewis Martins isn't the strongest, and I expect that being a reoccurring problem for the rest of the season, if I'm being totally honest.
NYCFC versus FC Cincinnati.
After that DC United disaster, it was nice seeing our name on the other side of the score. New York City Football Club put the hammer down on FC Cincinnati, and it wasn't even close. Listen to this shit. 5 goals, all off of set pieces was all she wrote on this one. Yankee Stadium was just too much for FC Cincinnati, and a staggering statistic to look at is that they lost once in the Fortress their last season playing there. Jesus Medina had a phenomenal game, scoring 2 goals, one of them being a blast from distance. He's finally playing at a designated player level, and you love to see it. If he can keep up this form, NYCFC look to be in a good shape going forward. Also, Sean Johnson played lights out, earning a clean sheet. And Andres Jason, oh my god, he earned his first start for the club and his first point with the team. Great day for NYCFC, and hey, great day for us. FC Cincy, on the other hand, have a lot of problems to sort out. Their offense is good, but their defense is not. Man, some summer signings will have to be made in order for this team to compete for a playoff spot.
Nashville SC versus Montreal CF.
So is Montreal good this year, or what's going on? First slapping around Toronto and now nearly beating Nashville in Nashville. This looks like a revitalized team compared to last year. Mason Toye scored almost an identical curler to the one he scored opening weekend, and Brault Gallard scored a stunner as well in the first half of the Boys in Blue. Nashville did show tremendous heart and grit and clawed themselves back to an even scoreline. Goals by Mukhtar and Cadiz were just enough to earn them a very valuable point. The players who stood out to me were surprisingly not the goal scorers, but the 2 men on the left-hand flank, Daniel Lovitz and Randall Leal. Both of these players were wreaking havoc down that left-hand side, and Nashville's first goal was a direct result from Randall Leal's beautiful service. Seems like he'll have a very big 2021. Again though, the main takeaway, Montreal might actually be pretty good this year. Too soon to tell though, as we're only 2 games deep.
Toronto FC versus the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Another team that could actually be good is the Vancouver Whitecaps. Listen, please, wait. I know how crazy that sounds, but just hear me out. If not for an 82nd minute equalizer from Jonathan Osorio, the Whitecaps could have been walking all the way back to Vancouver with a precious 3 points. Unfortunately, they had to settle with just 1, but a great effort nonetheless. New signing Luke Singh of Toronto scored 1 early, but Vancouver responded in the second with a goal from a penalty by Christian Dahome and a goal from center back Andy Rose. For us here at benchkings, Dahome was definitely man of the match. He is the Home. Playing in the second striker role seemed to work wonders for him, and the pairing of him and Cavallini does seem like a huge threat to opposing teams. Toronto, on the other hand, can't get a healthy soon enough. You can tell the absence of Pozuelo is really hurting the team. Good news though, Santos playmaker Jefferson Soteldo has agreed to sign for the Reds, making them an incredibly strong team when healthy.
The San Jose Earthquakes versus FC Dallas.
San Jose bounced back very nicely after their 2-1 loss in Houston last week. Cade Cowell put on a clinic for the Quakes, showcasing his inch-perfect passing abilities on his assist to Espinoza and his finishing abilities on his goal. The shimmy shake was phenomenal by the young lad. You know hips don't lie. On the other side of the coin, Dallas didn't play all too well, however. Outplayed and outworked is what we saw from the club last week. At least FC Dallas homegrown Ricardo Pepe did get on the score sheet, but still, I want to see more from their young guns. In my opinion, Paxton Jones-Pomykal has got to start. When Paxton Jones-Pomykal is on, the whole team is on. Besides this 3-1 scoreline of goals, there were also some cards given out. Wondolowski was subbed on in the 72nd minute, and around 20 minutes later was subbed off for a foolish tackle that earned him a red card. I'm starting to think he should have retired last year while he was still hot. So far, his 2021 season has been nothing more than reds and misses. It's been bad, guys. Hope he can turn it around, but hey, we'll see.
LAFC versus the Seattle Sounders.
One of the most highly anticipated matchups was this one, but as we learned from last week, if you set your expectations too high, you're likely gonna end up disappointed. And this was a major disappointment indeed. Only 2 goals were scored in this one being from Atuesta and one being from Brad Smith, making this game subjectively boring to watch. It was essentially a stalemate and neither team could really break through. Talk about a major snooze fest. As far as standouts go, Atuesta was head and shoulders above the rest, man of the match in our opinion. His ability to control the tempo of the match is breathtaking, and that free kick goal was ingenious, going under the wall. Also, Diego Rossi and Carlos Vela should be back soon for the black and gold, so expect much more goals in the near future, as we all hope. In the meantime, Cifuentes is playing as a number 9. Sheesh! It would be unfair to talk about injuries without mentioning Seattle's situation either. 2 of their best players, Jordan Morris, Nico Ladero, are still out. Injuries have been a very common theme for this season, hoping for speedy recoveries from all these players.
The New England Revolution versus DC United.
Another boring game, you could say. Only 3 shots on target combined, and the lone goal was an own goal as Heinz Ike slotted it into the wrong net. Sheesh! I'm sorry, that's going to be the last time I do that. I've just been on TikTok too much, I'm going through it, guys. Really nothing much more to say about this game. DC are back to their losing ways, and New England didn't really show up. You know they got the win, but looking back, did they really deserve it? I don't know. I almost never question Bruce Arena, but in this situation, I'm going to. Why wasn't Buchanan not starting? Oh my god. In my opinion, Buchanan is one of the best on the team, and he could have added a much-needed spark into their attack. It absolutely rattles my dome.
Minnesota United versus Real Salt Lake.
There is a lot to unpack in this game, both on the field and off the field. First, let's talk about that upset. Somehow, someway, Real Salt Lake came out with the dub at Allianz Field 2-1. Still shocked about that. And I think even RSL fans are stunned with their team's performance. A double by Lonely Anderson Julio was just enough to put them ahead. Minnesota looked shaky in the back, and Opara and DiBiase have got to get healthy quick before further damage is done to the team. Even though Minnesota was only able to get 1 past Ochoa, I don't really see their attack being a concern. New signing from Stade Rennais Adrian Huno has been added to the squad, making their offense even stronger. That pretty much sums up the on-the-field actions, but now let's dive into the off-the-field antics. After the game, David Ochoa punted the ball into the stands. Pretty unclassy move if you ask us. But that's not the end of it. A brawl of sorts broke out after the game, and in Adrian Heath's post-presser, he had this to say about Ochoa. He's got some edge on him for a kid that's not that good.
Atlanta United versus the Chicago Fire.
Atlanta United are officially back to their winning ways. A 3-1 win put Atlanta ahead of Chi-Town, and there's one player that Atlanta fans have to thank for this performance, Ezequiel Barco. Not only was he a madman covering every blade of grass on that pitch, but he also scored an absolute piss missile bar down. Ezequiel Barco is officially back, ladies and gentlemen, and that should be a scary thought for the rest of the goddamn league. Another frightening thing to ponder is that Joseph Martinez, Jurgen Damm, and Alan Franco were all on the bench. Just imagine if they started. Move the rating from G to PG. Shit, this could get violent. On the other side of things, Chicago didn't look necessarily bad. Luka Stojanovic scored another for the Fire, but it just wasn't fire. Atlanta looked to be a good team yet again this season, and I could honestly see them challenging for the cup.
The Philadelphia Union versus Inter Miami.
Oh my god, talk about an absolute catastrophe for Philadelphia. They were in the driver's seat for the better half of the game up until the last 15 minutes. Have to give credit to Phil Neville though. Makes a very risky substitution, taking out Rodolfo Pizarro and subbing on Federico Higuain. High risk, high reward. And Inter seemed to reap all of those benefits. Not too long after the substitution, Federico assisted his brother Gonzalo, making the scoreline 1-1. And to put the cherry on the icing of the cake, Federico scored a header himself, winning the game for Inter 2-1. This was also the first time in Major League Soccer history that two brothers scored in the same game. Historic. You can't beat the chemistry between these two. This Higuain synergy is gonna be a threat this season. Philly, on the other hand, don't really have too many threats. Now that Brendan is off the team, Philly has to pick it up, or else I truly don't see them making the playoffs this year.
The Colorado Rapids versus Austin FC.
Second game in history, and first win in history. Austin played a fantastic game against a strong Rapids side. We said it in the last episode that Cecilio Dominguez has to show up or show out. And show up he did. 2 quick goals were hammered by him, catapulting them into that 3-1 lead. This was a huge upset in my opinion, especially playing away from home. Besides Cecilio, Captain Alexander Ring played sensational as well in the middle, the true anchor that Austin needs. On the flip side, Colorado is making me look like a fool out here. As we originally predicted them to make the playoffs, they look bland against Austin, and their defense was just overall weak. Missing Abubakar and Sam Vines in the back is a big blow to this team, as now you have Danny Wilson and Kellen Acosta, who's not even a wing back filling in. Don't get us wrong though, we still haven't lost hope in the Rapid side. They just need all their pieces to come together.
The Portland Timbers versus the Houston Dynamo.
Portland had to fight hard in order to get this win. A late goal by Christian Paredes was all that separated the Timbers from the Dynamo. A 2-1 win. The game was way closer than I expected, especially when you take into account that Boniek Garcia is playing as a center back. Just that in itself is highly problematic for Houston fans. I thought Portland would at least score 3-4 goals, but it ended up being an extremely tight contest. Now, Portland was starting with a weaker lineup than usual. Diego Valeri, Felipe Mora, and Van Rieken were all on the bench. So I would think Portland would have played better if they started the game. Also, Sebastian Blanco is still injured, so once he comes back, he will be a game changer for the club.
LA Galaxy versus the New York Red Bulls.
Chikorito, 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 Chikorito. A hattie by Javier Hernandez. Chikorito sealed the deal for the Galaxy. Who would have saw this coming? 5 goals in 2 games for the mega flop that was last season? Major League Soccer in a nutshell. Chikorito is silencing all the haters, and it's a sight to behold. The Red Bulls almost came back into the game with a goal by Christian Cáceres, but too little, too late for the Bulls. This was the Chicharito show, his first hat trick since 2016. I gotta admit, the Galaxy, they're off to a great start this season. First beating Inter and now the Red Bulls, scoring 3 goals in both games. Greg Vanney seems to have turned this team around, and they look to be real contenders this season. On the other hand, the Red Bulls look to be quite the opposite, first losing at home to Sporting Kansas City, and now on the road to the Galaxy. The new coach, Gerard Struber, has got to get some points on the board, or else he may be sacked sooner rather than later.
Well, if you enjoyed this video, brother, please smash that like button, brother, and we'll see you next week. Where you gonna be when Bench Kings drops a load of dope-ass content right on your doorstep, brother. We'll see you next time, brother.